Okay, so let's have a look now at the more secure way of being able to authenticate from your EC2 instance to another AWS service. And again, we're going to use an S3 bucket as an example. So we have our EC2 instance, and what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called an IAM role. And the role is then going to be assumed by the EC2 instance. So the EC2 instance is going to be able to use the role, and whatever permissions are assigned to that role, the EC2 instance will then be able to use to access the S3 bucket. So that's how it looks. Let's go to the console and test this out. So I'm back on the AWS Management Console in the Identity and Access Management service. So if you're not there, you can go to Services, Security, Identity and Compliance, and IAM. I'm going to just choose Roles on the left here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create our own role. So we choose Create Role. Now we need to choose the service that's going to use the role. So in this case, we're going to choose EC2, and it tells us that this allows EC2 instances to call AWS services on your behalf. So that's what we want. Let's choose Next. And now what we do is we attach a permissions policy. And there are quite a few that already exist. What I'm going to do is just type S3, and we'll see a couple of policies come up. Now, I only want to assign the minimum permissions I need at any particular time. In this case, I only need read-only permissions because I just want to be able to read the contents of the bucket. So I'm going to choose this policy, click on Next, click on Review, and I'm going to call this S3 Read Only. And then choose Create Role. So we've got our role set up. Now let's just head back to the command line just to check that we can't access our S3 bucket. So as with the last lesson, if I try to run the command at the moment, I get a failure. It's unable to locate credentials because we haven't configured any credentials on the EC2 instance itself. So back on AWS, let's go to EC2. I'm going to choose Instances, and here is my instance. We can now choose Actions, go to Instance Settings, and then attach/replace IAM role. And now we should be able to find our role. So here it is. So I'm going to choose S3 Read Only and click on Apply. Now, by the way, you can also do this when you launch your instance. So normally, if we go through the way we normally do, select Amazon Linux 2, select T2 Micro, and then here you'd be able to select your IAM role. So that's how you would do it at launch time. But you can add these at any time afterwards. So now back on our command line, if we try and rerun this command, we now have the privileges we need. So that's fantastic. And this is so much more secure because the IAM role uses what's called temporary security credentials. So they're very difficult to compromise, and even if they were compromised, they'd only be useful for a limited period of time. So this is much better than actually having hard-coded information like the access key ID and the secret access key actually stored on your file system in your EC2 instance. That's definitely a security risk, and this is the security best practice. So just coming back to visualize what we've done, we have an EC2 instance. The EC2 instance is using an IAM role that we created, and that role had permissions which allow it read-only access to the S3 bucket. So by using the role, the EC2 instance is then able to view the S3 bucket. So that's it for this lesson. And what we're going to do is terminate our instance because we don't need it in the next lesson. So back in the console, we can click on Actions, Instance State, Terminate, and Yes, Terminate.